Okay, officially into virgin territory with this show now, and I felt like a lot of what they did on here was good, even though there were plenty of annoying things, but because of real life circumstances, both related to the cast and related to the budget of this show, a lot of what they did, even when it was good, because of how rapid fire paced it was and the big overall reaching goals of this show not being able to be met, in many ways, I'm looking at it as just a really flawed product with a lot of wasted potential. Now, okay, a lot of real life circumstances came into effect here because Vanessa, Sugar's actor, she had another thing that she was doing while the season was going on. Diana, Quinn's actor, she was doing the movie The Family with Robert De Niro and Tommy Lee Jones at the time. Corey, towards the end of the season, he checked into rehab, which is why you don't see him with regionals. And they couldn't figure out what they were going to do with Joe. And I think Heather also had another project or some other thing going on during this season. So yeah, all of that is perfectly fine. But when you factor that stuff in, along with budget cuts that were apparently happening this season, which is why a lot of story arcs got sped up, that kind of a thing, along with the fact that the show ended up, one, blowing its limited budget and breaking its original message of the show, that it's supposed to be about a high school and you age out the cast, but then they decide to bring half of that original cast back and continue that storyline, even though, let's be honest, it's really they're continuing Rachel's storyline, and they give her a couple of other characters so you have something to work with. It's what was going on with Angel in the Buffyverse, okay? Because they were originally going to do 2 TV shows, but when Fox ended up denying that, Ryan Murphy decided to do a hodgepodge showing both the original message of the show and then continuing Rachel's storyline. Well, then that meant they had to do different locations for outdoor scenes, bring in more supporting cast, even though they had to bring in new main cast to keep with the 12 show choir member theme, even though most of the time there's only 8 or 9 of them in the choir room, which was a bit annoying. When it was the first few seasons, okay, if you were missing somebody, you were only missing one person. Now we're missing multiple. Yeah, that's annoying. So once you factor all of that in together, it creates a problem. And I don't want to say that, okay, because again, there were tons of great things that they were doing here, because let's talk about the New York stuff, okay? What they were doing to continue Rachel's storyline, showing that she has to work harder than she's worked before, because now she's in the big leagues, is an excellent message of growing up. Kurt's stuff on his own, no complaints with that whatsoever, and I love that they brought back the Bert having cancer storyline and how he's trying to send Kurt on his way. That's the hardest thing a parent can do, let their kid go, or go, I can definitely help you out, but your equation is much better served if you do this. That's what my dad did to me. After I finished high school, he felt he could do tons with me, but he felt that I could grow more if I moved out and lived with my a-hole uncle for a few years, although at the time he wasn't an a-hole. And I did improve because of that, though I now don't look back fondly on those years at all, but and then bringing in Santana to add a foil or sassiness angle to it, all a perfect move. all of that I felt was great. Putting three people that would probably be very dysfunctional with each other, and yet somehow they managed to work out in a way that is helping each other, even though Rachel and Kurt, they aren't really doing anything besides giving Santana a home. Now, the factors that lead to Santana coming to New York, I felt like that was rushed, but had it been flushed out a bit more, and they wouldn't have needed the hugest amount more, I would have had no problem with that. And the little bits of crossing over that they still do with going back to Lima makes sense. It's not forced at all. All those reasons make perfect sense. Plus, on the East Coast, traveling from one state to another is more common than it is on the west side of the Great Plains. Because the Great Plains / Tornado Alley is a pretty good divider for this kind of idea. Right. So I loved just about all the New York stuff. The only thing that I didn't like was how they handled the Brody character. The individual marks, great. I can't really think of any other way that it could have ended. But because of the budget issues, that forced them to have to, really speed it up. Annoying, but Brody got what he deserved. I never really liked the character anyway. It was just as cringeworthy as Finshaw in my mind. So there you go. Now moving back to the Lima side of things. A lot of what they had there was great too, because I actually do like the different caricatures of Unique and Marley going in there and doing this stuff. And then Kitty, I can't believe I forgot about Kitty. Yeah. She has a new foil to the mix to keep a Quinn or Santana character in there to help destabilize the group. Her arrival is kind of sudden, and the fastness at which she becomes more accepted into the group is also annoying, but at the same time it had been done before, and had this show, not had the budget limitations or done two different things, I bet the character would have been fleshed out even more. And even then, the character can add a good amount of stuff to the show, because in fan fiction, okay, Kitty is frequently a cousin or some kind of a friend of Quinn or Santana, and yet she works out just fine. So yeah, it could have been better, but they did good with her. And then Molly and Unique adding their own little bits in there, minus that love triangle, but not for the reasons you think. All nice. So, now for the love triangle of Molly, Jake, and Ryder, even though Ryder is in a back seat to the other two for most of the season. So I'm not a big fan of love triangles, but I would say that this is less cringe because of Ryder taking the back seat. But the problem is, I really do think that they were trying way too hard to create similarities between Rachel and Marley and Jake and Puck, because honestly, learning that he was Puck's half-brother, I felt hurt the character, took away individualism. He's a guy who doesn't have a lot going for him, tries to stake it out, it's messy at first, and then he manages to create something. I felt that would have been better. Instead, it's just used as an excuse, to bring Puck back in more on him in a minute or two, and do that stuff. And also, how the hypocrisy of the writers comes in here, where last season you have Puck sleep with Shelby, and then you have them doing the angle of trying to frame Shelby as, a pedophile, and yet Puck comes in just 1 year later, and now he is the pedophile? What the hell? Quinn agreed to have sex with Puck in season 1. She wasn't in the clearest state of mind, but she did agree to it and they were the same age. I'm gonna let that one slide. Okay? Anyway. So, it's just the fact that they try to recreate far too many of the similarities to other characters. So once they start doing that, it starts being bad. Because I felt like there was potential for it, but because of the rushness and the budget restrictions, it just got lost in all the big story arcs that were going on for this season. So that was unfortunate. Because I felt like that there was potential for that to bring about something. The same thing goes for Ryder there. You could have felt a little bit more sympathy for them if they had had the opportunity to flush this out a little bit better. And then the catfish bit. I love that story arc. And I did actually figure out that it was unique pretty early, because once we saw the bit that the person that was literally the picture of Katie wasn't actually the person that was messaging Ryder, and it was clear that he was getting catfished, I knew, okay, they've got way too many characters in here to have it be a new character, so it's somebody that we know. He does the obvious thing, go to Jake and Marley, but you could tell they were being completely honest. They're like, no, it's not us. Jake even says, I hate your guts. Even I would not go that low. So then I'm like, okay, it's probably Kitty then, because who else would try to get under his skin? And oh! But then I thought of Unique, and I realized that would be the perfect way to continue on the bit about Way going, you're a dude, and all that stuff. So the fact that it ended up being Unique wasn't that surprising, but the way that they actually ended it, one, having Molly try to take the heat off Unique, that was so stupid. Very stupid. Then Unique's bit coming out of nowhere, that was because they were trying to wrap everything up in the season, and they're like, okay, here's the reveal, haha, it's Unique. Yeah, way to make it fall flat and not carry any emotional substance. And then, even when Unique is trying to explain herself to Ryder and Marley, she doesn't even bring up the origin of it. She goes, what I said to him was real. But I hope that we can keep this going. What about the bit that you were originally trying to pull the rug under his feet, but then you developed a real connection to him that you weren't expecting? Where was that lie? Huh? Right. So again, you had great potential with all that stuff, because all those episodes that take place solely in high school, I didn't notice until there were like 5 minutes left in the episode that they hadn't shown New York at all. And all of those episodes were the best episodes of the season in my mind. They were great. But because of the real life circumstances, it makes it feel a lot less than it should have been. Same thing goes for the little bits of cameos that they do for the original cast that they're not showing as much. I like that they were trying to continue Mercedes' storyline, but because she's only in there for 2 episodes, and she's trying to help out the Gleeks or Finn in those episodes, just, oh, we have a little phone call to expand her bit. All that did was make it too plot heavy and just trying to shove it in there. You would have been better off not having it, and I don't want to say that. The same thing goes for Quinn. Talk about a downgrade. Seriously, Quinn, after all that matureness that you do last season, you just decide to go and sleep with an older dude who's still married and just shoot yourself in the foot, even though later in the season you're like, oh, I hate men, just blah, 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 blah. Although, at the same time, I am talking, I'm being a hypocrite. I am being a hypocrite here, because had they not had that little bit, we wouldn't have had the Quintana bit in the 14th episode. And I really enjoyed that Quintana bit, especially when I saw it for the first time with not having any context with this season and seeing the chemistry that Diana and Naya had, even though Diana is pretty good at creating chemistry with like all kinds of people. Well, I really did like that little subplot. It was enjoyable, even though, do I believe that this is kind of the writers just trying to do, oh, we've got all kinds of people pitching great gay Quinn to us? Okay, here's a little bit for you. Especially since we all know that Santana and Brittany are the ones that are supposed to be. But, like, yeah, I will agree with that angle, but that episode was the whole reason I even read Quintana fanfiction, so thank you for that, even though the origin for it was kind of messed up. And then the romances that they had in this season, I appreciate what they were trying to do with Santana and Brittany and Kurt and Blaine, but adding in all of the struggles that everyone else was experiencing, like breaking them up along with Finchel and causing issues between Will and Emma all in the same episode. Like, when I saw that episode 12-ish years ago, that made me actually stop watching the show. Because I'm like, I cannot go back to this after seeing all of that. Dealing with the grief that Kurt had, that was great. The bit where both Kurt and Blaine were considering going for another option and then they don't, excellent. But then having the bits of Santana just getting a girlfriend that we never see again, and then Sam and Brittany, oh, that was so stupid, especially Brittany's airiness in this season. Like, okay, hey, in the previous seasons, it was funny, but each time they kept doing it, it just started grating on me more and more. Because, like, okay, I read tons of fan fiction where Brittany has her airiness, but they do it tastefully. It doesn't feel over the top. It's funny when it needs to be, she's helpful when she needs to be, and she's smart when she needs to be. Because I've seen Brittany in fanfictions where she's smart, and it's great, but like, this... Just, are you trying to get me to hate the character? Just, especially with the way that she broke up with Sam, who I don't really care about that much, but just, it was like, why did you even bother with that? Just, gosh darn it, Brittany. That was bad. And then, and also Beast's bit where she crushes on Mr. Shu. Did you have to do that? It's like, writers, you know that you already got too much in here. Limit it down. Be smart. Like, you barely... Like, all you did was have Mike be there as a helping hand. Why couldn't you have just had Diana as a helping hand, even though that means that Quintana wouldn't have happened and I wouldn't be into the fanfiction? I freely admit that. But that would have come across as better... Or especially since you're not continuing, you didn't really have any interactions with her and Rachel. Oh, and by the way, writers, in the Thanksgiving episode, you haven't Quinn state that Rachel bought her the train ticket? Other way around, guys. You forget already? Bad. Oh, and what about the fan theory that it was actually supposed to be Quinn living with Kurt and Rachel in New York? I think that was just something that they considered for a little bit. They knew that they were going to have a member of the Unholy Trinity there, most likely, but they didn't know which one. And honestly, I think it's actually a little bit better that it was Santana, because if it was Quinn, while that would make the New York a bit more pleasant and all that stuff, you'd lose some of the sassy humor, plus Quinn would defend Rachel a little too much. You need somebody to attack Rachel and be on the level with her. Santana can do that way better than Quinn. It doesn't even matter if you're trying to do for the Quinn is gay angle. And then Finn and Puck. Make up your minds, writers. Do you want us to like them or not? Hunt does the pedophile bit, starts throwing the parties at college, not taking real life seriously splurging because of his pool job cleaning business, and then he tells Finn, hey, don't throw away your potential at college, dude, get at it. And then Finchell's just going back and forward about what he wants to do, and just... Come on, writers, are we supposed to like these guys or not? Make up your minds! Yes, I know! Okay? It was only because of that event that I even discovered Glee in the first place, okay? I know what happens in a couple of episodes. Okay. So, yeah, there you go. There was plenty of good stuff in here, but because of how much they were trying to do, it just ran into a lot of problems. I want to like this. Just a couple things being a little better, or if you had just eliminated a couple of story arcs, would have made this season way better than it is. It's just real unfortunate. Okay, so that's 4 seasons down, 2 to go. Well, really 1.5 to go because of how much season 6 had its episodes cut. Right. See ya.